Hello everyone, and welcome to Hill Street. Today's story is The Monster Under Your Bed is There for a Reason. If you end up enjoying this story, please leave a like. And if you enjoy hearing stories from me, please subscribe and become a resident of Hill Street and let me know how I'm doing in the comments. Now, let's get to this nightmare. It was always there for as long as I can remember. Even when I was a small baby, I think I saw it hiding beneath my cradle. I can't be sure about that, of course, given the earliest thing I can remember is when I was 4. I remember seeing a dark shadow open my window and crawl inside before sliding beneath my bed. The sight completely terrified me, of course. I couldn't even muster up the courage to get out of bed. I couldn't even find my voice to call out to my parents. I just huddled beneath the sheets, fully aware that there was something below where I was sleeping. When I woke up the next morning, I managed to steel myself enough to take a look. There was nothing there. I told my parents, but as you would expect, they chalked it up to my imagination. This didn't occur all the time, mind you. Weeks or even months could pass by where nothing would happen, though I was always too scared to actually try and peek beneath the bed whenever it did happen. Our house was near the woods, which was otherwise really fun, but it made me occasionally wonder just what it was that was doing this. Was there some strange lizard or forest man hiding out in the woods? I could only assume that was where that thing came from, given that was the direction the window in my bedroom faced. Now, many of you might be wondering as to why I simply didn't lock my window shut. Well, at the time I was too young to figure out how to do it, and when I finally did get the hang of it, I would almost always find that one of my parents had undone the lock at one point to let some fresh air and sunlight in. And truth be told, my room did get uncomfortably hot in the summers, and there would be periods when that monster didn't visit me at all, to the point where I even began to doubt myself as to whether or not it had existed at all. Fast forward a couple years later, when I was 10 and had thought I had grown up out of my silly childhood fantasy of monsters. I had left the window open and nearly nodded off when I heard a strange sound. To my utmost horror, the window began opening. The lights were off, so I couldn't make out what it was that came in, but it slid underneath my bed. Mind you, about 2 years had passed since the last time I saw that thing, so I had chalked it up to a nightmare by that point. Now, I was wide awake and upright in my bed, unsure of what to do. Should I run? What if the monster grabbed my feet? Should I shout then? Before I could raise my voice, I felt a sudden chill enter my bedroom. It was as if I had just walked into an open freezer. Against the moonlight, I saw another shadow approach my window. If I had been scared before, I was nearly petrified now. I didn't even know what that shadow was, but every fiber of my being was screaming at me to run, only I couldn't find it in me to even move. It was then that I heard a voice. "Daniel, come and hide." It didn't even sound like something a human could make. "Ah!" I screamed as I felt something touch my leg. I looked down to see that the monster beneath my bed had extended a hand to grab onto me. As you can understand, I was completely startled. This had been one of my worst fears after all, but the hand didn't pull me underneath as I expected. Instead, I just heard the same voice again. "Quick, hide." I saw the shadow against my window now nearly blot out any incoming light completely, and the fact that it had grabbed my leg had snapped me out of my stupor. While I didn't like the monster under my bed, I didn't like whatever was outside even more. I crawled underneath the bed, and the monster surprisingly made room for me. Shh, it whispered. My heart pounded loudly as I heard multiple feet hit the floor of my bedroom. Now, the cold was nearly unbearable, and I began to shiver uncontrollably. But even then, I didn't dare go out to look at whatever else had followed the monster underneath my bed. I could even hear its hard, deep breathing as its feet began moving across the floor. By my count, did it have 6 or 8 legs? Regardless, I don't think I had ever been as scared before in my life as I was in that moment. For what seemed like an eternity, I lay there, underneath my bed, no longer even caring about the monster beside me. Eventually, the pressure relented and the temperature went back to normal. It was only when the monster beside me decided to crawl out and nothing happened that I did too. I was safe, for now. I never got a good look at whatever it had been that was hiding underneath my bed as it crawled out the window and into the woods. Needless to say, I didn't get any sleep that night. I ran into my parents' bedroom and whined until they let me sleep with them. It's been some years since that incident, and nothing of the sort happened again. As I've grown though, I've began to appreciate certain things. Namely, the fact that that thing knew my name and that it looked out for me at that moment. Something I heard once now sticks out to me, that there is always a bigger fish. There may be lots of monsters in the woods near my house, and some of them are worse than others. One is frightening enough to chase another one of them to hide under my bed. There seems to be a food chain, even amongst monsters. I keep my window open whenever possible now. I'm not too scared of what comes to hide under my bed. Though, I'm still terrified of whatever chased it to hide there. But given that the monster under my bed did help me out, I feel like I now owe him one. And if I ever encounter that other terrifying creature, I'll at least know when I should crawl underneath the bed. So remember that when you think about the monster under your bed, it might be there for a good reason after all, and it might be worse for you if it weren't there.